Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining today. It's December 9th, 2021. We are in this meeting for, it's an AUA, Ask Us Anything, regarding being and or becoming a senior support engineer. And we have more than a couple that have joined with us. And I just want to say, first of all, to Ronald and Harish and Ben and Katrin, and if I'm missing any other senior support engineers that have come in, thank you very much. We really do appreciate you being gracious with your time and answering our questions. We have several. So we are going to jump right into it. We'll start with our first question, which is, being promoted can increase the pressure that one might put on themselves to perform at a higher level. The question being, how do you keep imposter syndrome at bay when you're new to your role, or even after you've been there for a while?
I don't necessarily agree with the statement in general.
I was trying to think of something funny, but I can't think of anything. I don't.
You just deal with it.
It's we talked about this morning something similar, but you sort of get used to being a senior before you are a senior. So at some point, you'll start thinking about, how can I improve the team? If I encounter a ticket, would this, issue be widespread? Will multiple customers get affected for it? What are the next steps for me to take? That's the sort of mindset that you're going into. And once you're in that mindset, you're essentially a senior. So by the time you get your promo doc ready and you get promoted, you've been doing this for a couple of months.
Very good. That's enlightening. Is anybody else have anything to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So imposter syndrome is very real for me. And the reason I say that is because before this job, I was a developer, and I was only a developer for 10 months. And that's it. That's all my experience as the tech field was. So coming in, I had to learn a whole lot to even learn the basics of GitLab. So kind of
You're kind of breaking up.
The growing mindset, right? Having that, I think, was very helpful to just keep learning new things, keep challenging yourself, and yeah, take on projects in areas where you do feel confident.
So what and correct me if I'm wrong, what I'm hearing is that the best way to combat it is, or combat it / deal with it, is to have a mindset that's willing to go in, learn, be hungry in a sense, and just don't feed that imposter syndrome mentality a little too much. Is that right?
Yeah, it's challenge yourself, and kind of in two different things. One is to challenge yourself. The second is to focus on your strengths. Right, like whatever you're good at, just do more of that too.
Oh, that's good advice. Yeah. All right, I'll move onto the next question here. This is kind of a general question. What does a day in the life of a senior support engineer look like?
I think we actually have one more answer to the previous one.
Oh, go
yeah,
ahead.
I'd like to agree with the statement, just to provide a counterpoint. I mean, this is probably because I was fairly surprised that I got promoted relatively early, and I still feel this a lot. And one of the ways that I tried balancing that is to not do so much computer work in my free time. So just to have something where I don't know, see the progress with my hands, for example, some kind of crafts stuff. Because before, like last year, before I became a senior, I would often still like try to learn programming on the weekends and so on. And then some weekends I was just pissed off at myself because I couldn't do something. And then that's not a good start into the week. So I think the work-life balance has changed a little bit, and that also helps definitely with keeping this imposter syndrome at bay.
Thank you for that. Yeah, so Katrin, if you don't mind, would you care to lead us off on that, on answering that next question? What does a day in the life of a senior support engineer look like?
Wow, then I just need to scroll up. We discussed this earlier today, but I think, yeah, I think the general consensus was that it doesn't really change a lot, because also, as Ron said before, by the time this formality of the promotion occurs, you will most likely have already worked in that capacity in your day-to-day tasks already for several months. So no, it didn't change a lot. The only thing that I changed intentionally, as I mentioned, like more non-computer hobbies, but also taking more time for learning and reading during the week. So before it was a bit hodgepodge, just sometime here, sometime there. But afterwards, I felt confident that I should take a full day or several half days out of the daily routine intentionally. But you can do that first or right away, of course, as well. So that's not a thing that has to be connected to seniorship. So
I want to interject here and say that a lot of you all, the senior support engineers that are here today, I'm kind of a fan. I've been admiring you all from the background. I'll read through some old tickets and read your notes, and it's like, oh my goodness, these folks are just like so good at taking notes, or not taking notes, but parsing out information. Anybody else on that second question? What does a day in the life of a senior support engineer look like?
Sure, I'll vocalize mine. So I would, you know, I got the promotion to senior because fundamentally I could evidence that I was already acting at that level, and that's the way it works.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get promoted first and then get told, right, this is all the new stuff you do. So it's not that different from a normal support engineer. It's just I've been here a bit longer than somebody who's not been promoted yet. Still got to tackle first response, still doing on call, still got to somehow figure out how to prioritize my ticket queue.
Mm-hmm.
Same training courses, same new bugs, same random features popping up out of the blue. It's just, yeah, I've been here longer, so I can recognize the patterns now. I suppose there's a slightly different question in terms of what support engineers might do that's different, which I'm not sure if we're going to cover off somewhere. And I think that's more to do with behaviors and so on. And we covered it. We will cover that to some extent, depending on how we answer question 5. But as a senior, you would already need to be demonstrating that you're doing things which add value to the wider team, rather than just, you know, for example, rather than getting a ticket about a problem, you know, raising an issue, trying to find a general solution to it, making sure people know about that sort of thing. So it's thinking beyond just the ticket you've got in front of you.
That's a good one. I like that. I wanted to also mention Harish in the notes answered this question with same as above, referring to you, Ben. Additionally, working on projects and hiring, but that Harish says that also did that as a support engineer. More pairing sessions though. That actually sounds like a lot of fun to me. I enjoy the pairing sessions I have with folks. I just can't wait to be on the giving end of that rather than the receiving. I benefit from others more than others benefit from me. So
the pairing sessions real quick, those are more a personal choice for because I know many people actually do the same, if not far more pairing sessions than me today as an intermediate. So that's just the pairing sessions are very helpful for me, and I try to be as helpful to others in as often as I can. And that's that's the one bigger thing that's different. And also I think Ben also said this, the focus shifts a little bit more from being an individual contributor to helping the team as a whole, or customers as a whole, or the company as a whole, just thinking more in terms of larger picture.
All right. So Our next question, I don't mean to rush this or anything. I'm just trying to be aware of the time. We're a little less than halfway through here. I think we're making excellent time. So if nobody else has anything to add to that one, we'll move on to the next one. The next question is, if you could only share one piece of advice for me or any other support engineer on becoming, or if we're just thinking about becoming a senior support engineer, what would it be?
I'm going to give you the exact same answer I gave this morning. Enjoy the process.
Enjoy the process.
It sounds strange at first, but when I finished my promo doc and I was like, oh, it's perfect. And I gave it to my manager and he came back, it's like, this has to be improved. And I was like, wasn't perfect, it's horrible. You can be really sad about it and go like, oh, you know, I've done enough. Or you can realize, but you know, it's like, okay, I got points that I can improve. Let's work on this.
Yeah.
And enjoy the fact that you have something that you can improve on and work on, instead of, you know, getting frustrated by it. It's like, there's obviously something that has to be improved. Sure, that will never change, but you can also enjoy it. And I think that's an important part.
It's a good thing to remember. Anybody else have a piece of advice that you would share with someone looking to become a senior support engineer?
Bad copy pasted.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So your imposter syndrome is going to be positively on fire if you look around the team around you and think, I don't know any of this stuff. The reality is that everybody around you doesn't know all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. It's in the handbook. We can't all know everything. So I would say focus on deepening knowledge in areas that you're interested in and have an aptitude for, because the team needs people with depth in areas. If I use, say, database or TLS as two of the examples that I tend to focus on, you know, if we've got a customer with a serious database issue, like corrupted data files or something, yeah, I've never fixed that before. Yeah, first time I did it or the second time I did it, you know, scary as heck. But you know, I was able to draw on the experience I did have with Postgres to figure it out and get those customers fixed. And you know, there's plenty of other parts of the product that need people that know it well, so that we can fix issues for customers. And yeah, it doesn't matter whether you're an intermediate or a senior, you'll need some depth in some areas.
Yeah, that's a good thing to, I guess that's kind of something you want to keep on the shelf next to you at all times, to remind yourself there's something that I need to sharpen a little bit, you know. So I suppose, yeah, I guess that's a good piece of advice for anybody working as an engineer, and especially at GitLab. There's so much technology surrounding the entire thing. My favorite part of it is that you don't stop learning. You know, that's one of my favorite things to do. So does anybody else have a bit of advice?
Regarding your learning, that will never change. Even if you're a senior, we'll still be learning stuff. And to highlight sort of the fear of not knowing, and a piece of advice, often you get the question during interviews, you know, if you're applying for jobs, like, are you a good developer? If you're looking for a developer, you know, it's are you good? I always found it a very difficult question, because when I measure myself, I don't measure myself to people that are at the same level. I measure myself to people who are better than me. So my answer would always be like, I know people who are better, and I'm trying to achieve, you know, to get to that level. And once I reach that level, I'm looking for the next person who's better than me.
Yeah.
For me, that works. For other people, that can be extremely discouraging. So, you know, if you look at seniors and like, oh, they are amazing, they know a ton. Sure, we've been around for a while. You know, we have all our areas of focus that we specialized in, or that we are very familiar with. If you drop something else on our lap, it doesn't mean we don't know or that we can't handle it. But I'll just have to Google it, same as you.
Yeah. Excellent. That is great. There's one question here. It's on number 5. There's some high level things that are done on a senior support engineer level that senior or support engineers might not see. I think we've gotten a couple of answers that sort of bleed over onto that one, as well as the number 4 question. But if anybody has anything that they want to add to that, we could do that question now.
Ben had a beautiful answer this morning.
Yeah. Basically, if we're doing stuff that other SEs can't see, we're doing something wrong, because the key thing that seniors are supposed to be doing is adding value for the whole team. So it should be visible.
Yeah.
If we're wasting our time on stuff that doesn't add value to the whole team, then yeah. Or yeah, other than the stuff we're already doing, like tickets,
Being aware of that, I suppose, is a skill, a learned skill, being aware of what's beneficial and what's not. I skipped over a question, which was, how was your transition? What was the transition like? I mean, from what I'm gathering, it's like in the beginning of the session, I believe it was, who was it that said, talking about how you were already being a senior support engineer before you were actually a senior support engineer. Does everybody kind of agree with that blanket statement? Is there anything to highlight there?
Oh, that's how it is.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
I brought it up, and it's something that sort of happens. There are sort of 2 paths that you can go, or how you come be senior. And it's either you're performing at a senior level and your manager tells you, here's your document, start filling it out because you're ready for this, you deserve this promotion.
Mm-hmm.
The other part would be you go to your manager and say, hey, I want to be promoted. How do I do this? I'll give you the document. Same steps go apply. At some point, you're working at a senior level. If you're not, your promo doc will never get passed. So by the time you're becoming a senior on paper officially, you've been doing this for 4 months.
So it sounds like the transition is spaced out in a sense, and it's kind of eases you into it. Is that right?
No.
It's eases you into it. If you start working at promo doc and you realize, I'm very focused on my tickets, but not in helping others.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, you'll make a decision. I'll do more pairing sessions because I can help others with it.
Gotcha.
You're used to doing more pairing sessions. By the time you're a senior, you're still doing that. So your behavior has changed months, maybe a year ago, and you're still processing that. And by the time you're being senior, that's your normal behavior.
So rather than thinking about the transition as a threshold, it's more of a journey in and of itself.
Other companies, one of my previous companies was like, you've been working 2 years for the company, now you're a senior.
Right.
Essentially could be, I've been delivering horrible code, essentially not living up to the task, but I was working there for 2 years. I became a senior. We don't do this at GitLab, which is, for me personally, is the best choice we have.
Mm-hmm.
I hear difference in opinion from this, like, oh, I've been working here for 4 years, I'm still not senior. Get working in a promo doc. So for me, it's important.
This is really enlightening for me. I've got to actually wrote down some questions that are I don't know that they're challenging or anything like that, but maybe not normally asked. That's some things that I was thinking about. What's your least favorite part of being a senior support engineer? Just being candid.
Management will,
Katrin?
and management will come to you when they need a volunteer.
Say that again.
True.
Managers will come to you more often to find a volunteer.
Gotcha.
But it's fair. It's fair.
but that would be your least favorite part of it. Yeah, that's understandable.
I mean, it depends. If it mismatches my areas of focus, for example, then this of course creates a lot more stress than if it is something that I am an expert in. But there's more fires to put out. I think that's fair to say.
Mhm.
Absolutely. My piece is kind of similar to that, which is there's much less time to focus on individual tasks because of you get kind of tapped for different problems or just things that people need help with, which I enjoy doing, but at the same time, you don't have less time to focus because of it.
Yeah. There's the next question actually kind of goes with this same string of thought, which is, did you have any reservations about becoming a senior support engineer that you found to be not so bad? In other words,
I get your
I'm
question.
worried about jumping into the water. Why is it okay? Or you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Maybe I'm not asking that right.
The question for me is pretty clear, but it's not that the moment you become a senior, your manager comes to you and says, great, now you have to do 10 more pairing sessions. You got 20 more interviews to do. Essentially nothing changes for you at the moment.
Gotcha.
So stuff that's not too bad, not so bad, you'll probably experience that, months before.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm sensing a theme here, which is by the time you become a senior support engineer, you would already know what to expect. You've already been doing it. So that seems to be a common theme. Well, I'm going to skip over the next question then, which was, what was the most unexpected part of your new role? And ask, what are your favorite areas of focus?
I suppose I've already mentioned TLS and database. I wouldn't necessarily describe them as favorite, but I at least feel like I can make some headway into them.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone like TLS? Come on now.
It's fine. We got a staff here. We got a staff here. Does he want to? We got a demotion.
He was so quiet for so long.
Will, what
I
did
just
you
want to learn how to be
do?
a senior.
Will, what did you do to end up here?
Well, I was brought in as a senior, which was a surprise to me. Like I didn't know I was being hired as a senior, so like, I came in day one, like, "Oh, you're a senior. Oh, that's intimidating." So yeah, whatever everyone said so far, I think is exactly right.
Anybody else have any answers for your favorite area of focus, or even your strongest? You could just refer to your strongest area.
I guess I can go. My favorite areas are probably off. If you're talking about tickets, it's probably off.
Mm-hmm.
In general, I think I like pairing on whether it's tickets or code contributions or doc contributions, things like that. That's probably my favorite thing to do in GitLab, is pairing on that kind of stuff.
I get that. I've paired a couple of times with Davin, and man, he makes it so fun. I don't know what he's doing, but he makes it really fun. Oh man. So here's a fun question. If you never, this is an Ask Us Anything, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be becoming a senior support engineer, but asked of the senior support engineers, if you never had to work another day in your life, what would take up most of your time?
Gaming. Even if I had all the money in the world, I'd probably still be working. I might not be answering as many tickets as I'm now. I really enjoy the interview process, talking with new people, seeing their assessments and that sort of thing. So I'll probably do more of that.
What about you, Katrin?
We are pretty much the same thing. I think something like a 3-day work week sounds good, but essentially pretty much the same tasks day to day, just yeah, more free time.
So you enjoy the learning aspect, you enjoy the work. It's just that you would have more free time if you didn't have to.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And of course, also helping.
I feel the same
people
way.
Yeah.
I think it's sort of, if you're a support engineer, I did a test long ago, and it essentially came out, I enjoy helping people.
Yeah.
And I think if you're a support engineer, that's something you'll have in common. You know, you'll enjoy helping people, whether it is your customer, whether it's a colleague. It's something general that you get sort of happy when someone comes back, like, oh, thank you, you helped me a lot. That essentially makes your day.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't stop, even if I had millions on the bank account, with getting that feeling. You know, it's why you do what you do.
Yeah. I feel the same. I enjoy being useful. It's a great feeling. And it's not like there's a whole philosophical discussion about whether or not these emotions are selfish or not. But from my perspective, it excites me because it's something I believe in and it works. When it works, it makes you feel great. We have one more question. This is, I think, probably, in my opinion, one of the most important questions. How do you stay motivated? What do you do? What are some techniques? What are some things you think about, practices, anything?
I have a couple of different ways of creating to-do lists. One is during my one-on-one is on Monday every week. So that's a good way to like set my goals for the week with my manager, or usually I set it and tell them what I will plan to do. And then I do that during the week. And then every morning I have Post-its that I create with today's tasks and the things I want to accomplish by the end of the day. And to me, that's helpful.
I love hearing all these different things, especially for this question, because everybody's personality is so different from another that you'll have totally different ways of dealing with motivation.
Harish, are you using digital Post-its, or like me, writing it down on paper?
So you don't see it, but I have so many books in front of me right now with like Post-its and yeah. I have it all. I have digital apps that I use sometimes that I always come back to written.
I bought a Remarkable, because it feels like you're writing on paper. And when I used to travel a lot in buses and that sort of thing, I always had a small pocket block inside my jacket. And every time I sat down somewhere, I just grab a pen and start writing my ideas. And once I started, I would just keep going. By the time I had to get out of the bus, the entire pages would be filled. And I think when you start looking at things to do at GitLab, it kind of goes the same way. You look at something small, you're like, oh, I could improve this. You write it down, and it's like, oh, I could do this as well, and this. And by the time you're finished with writing that down, weeks have passed. You've done none of it because you all have it on paper, and it's like 20 pages long. And then you can start scraping things that you like, it's not that important, and just pick something that you enjoy. And essentially, everything you write down at that point will be something you just want to do. So for me, motivation has never been an issue.
Yeah, I think probably personally, from my personal experience, I think the biggest thing that kills motivation is it depends on the time of day. In the mornings, I usually don't have any problems focusing, but there are times in the day when it's just like really difficult to get to the rabbit hole to start going down it in terms of focus. And I think that's the thing that I have to combat and say, well, what do I do? How can I focus myself and say, I need to learn this thing, but I need to be motivated to want to do it. I mean, you don't have to, I guess, but it's more effective if you're motivated. What about you, Ben? Do you have any tricks, secrets?
Yeah, I mean, when push comes to shove, just find something easy to do. If you can't motivate yourself to go down the rabbit hole, and I've got a queue full of rabbit holes, some of them very old. You know, they've been there long enough. Another day, just fixing stuff straight out of the first response queue. You will find this as you're here longer. You find that you can drop in the queue and you can see questions you can answer because you've answered them before. And it's like, well, someone's got those tickets, so it might as well be you. And boom, you've got an answer or two out. And maybe that'll
that makes sense.
The day.
Get a win, get the low hanging fruit, get a win, get yourself a little motivated. That makes sense. What about you, Katrin?
Yeah, pretty much the same here. I'm just not very good at then focusing back on the rabbit hole eventually.
Yeah.
That's still a hard thing that I encounter.
Nice. Well, unfortunately, we are at time. I want to say real quick that I really appreciate all of our senior support engineers joining and taking this time it's been very helpful to me, and I'm sure with other engineers here. Thank everybody else for coming. I want to give a very big special thank you for Bree, who's been taking notes this entire time and helping out. She's been incredible. She's been incredible in a lot of ways in my life because I learn things from her every single time we pair. So thank you, Bree. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Other than that, everybody have a great day. I hope that when you get into your weekend, you have a fantastic weekend. And let's go get that bread.
Have a good day. Bye-bye.
See y'all.
Thank you all.
Later.
Bye.